You're listening to the Thrivers Podcast, episode number 5. I'm your host, Candice Czaplak, and today we're talking all about purpose-driven business, connection, balance and sustainability, the cycle of impact and income, and how to create freedom and fulfillment through purpose-driven work.
So my whole life, in my fraternity, everyone called me Yoda because I was always like the wisdom, right? And
oh, wait, do that again.
Oh, it's pretty good. Yeah.
That is good. I love that. Yeah.
It's not my first rodeo.
Your face just transformed when you just did that. You literally turned into Yoda. Yeah.
Yes. He's hanging from my mirror in my car.
What is purpose? Why does purpose even matter? What happens when we're out of alignment with our purpose? And what can we do to get back on track if we're feeling out of alignment? What's happening with this transition from the industrial age into our hyper-connected internet and information age? And why does connection matter more than ever in today's day and age? From authenticity, alignment, and transformation to balancing freedom with fulfillment and the cycle of impact and income for sustainability, if you think you can't align your purpose to your work, especially for business owners, this episode will inspire you to think otherwise. You are here to do something special. You have a unique genius, and there is something that you're here to bring forth into the world. You are an entrepreneur daring to do your own thing to make positive change in the world. Working longer, working harder, with more struggle and more striving, and adding endless things to your to-do list is not the answer to expanding your impact or growing your income. It's time to tune into you. It's time to work smarter, not harder, and finally begin to enjoy the success and fulfillment you truly desire. Your best success starts on the inside. When you do the work on the inside, then you can expand your positive impact while more success shows up on the outside. You deserve to have all the time, money, and freedom you need to live the life you truly desire and leave a legacy you're proud of without having to make stupid sacrifices or lose all sense of balance. You deserve to thrive. In today's episode, I go deep, admittedly really deep, with my friend and chief purpose pioneer, aka Yoda himself, Thomas Waterman. Like many of us do after college, Thomas started out on a path trying to focus on money and achievement and quote unquote moving up in the world, trying to prove himself to everyone else, only to find himself unfulfilled. He faced his misalignment and leaned into his fear, quitting his job to pursue his purpose. With every step on his journey, he realized the power of putting purpose first with everything he thought, said, and did. This realization empowered him to co-found Purpose Pioneers. Outside of his main gig with Purpose Pioneers, Thomas is also a co-organizer for TEDx Orlando, host of the Purpose Driven Leader podcast, entrepreneurial coach with the Blackstone Launchpad at the University of Central Florida, and an alumni of Starter Studio, Orlando's leading tech business accelerator. Thomas is a true purpose pioneer who believes in a world where people fully align what they do to make money with what they do to experience meaning and fulfillment in their lives. As you will find out for yourself in today's episode, Thomas is a deep and passionate guy. And if you can hang in there and go deep with us, this conversation could be hugely impactful for you. Let's get on with the show. Prepare to thrive. Today on the show, I have Thomas Waterman with Purpose Pioneers. Hi, Thomas. How are you? I'm so happy to have you on the Thrivers podcast.
Yeah, I was just on a coaching call with some of my people, and I said I was feeling refreshed because we did a feeling word at the end. I'm feeling refreshed. So that's how I'm doing.
That's how you're doing. Refreshed. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here.
Same. Yeah. And Candice, we had one deep, powerful conversation, and we picked up again months later yesterday, and it doesn't feel like anything's changed. So I think that's what happens when we go deep.
It is. And we did have that conversation yesterday, and I wanted to be sure that I shared with everyone kind of how we met. Thomas and I initially connected over a LinkedIn post that he made. I don't know if he remembers this or not. He may. He made a post on LinkedIn. I honestly don't even remember what it was about, but clearly it was something about purpose, and it really resonated with me because we resonate with each other. So I made a comment, and then he reached back out in a message on LinkedIn asking for like further clarification about this comment that I had made, and kind of that encouraging that diving deeper thing. And I think that's awesome. Number one, great way to connect with people. So that's fantastic. But number two, well, so then let's back up. So after that, he's looking into my profile. I'm looking into his. I'm like, we need to get together. And we both live in the Orlando area. And so we met up at the Citrus Club downtown, and we had a wonderful, deep conversation and realized just how many things that we had in common with our philosophies of life and what's important and all of that. So you never know. I mean, my whole entire life has been based on relationships, personally and professionally. It's huge for me. All the businesses that I've had, I've built every single one by relationship, by referral, never done any advertising, never paid any money for any of that, because I believe it's about the relationships. And the longer, I used to fight this, but the longer I'm on this planet, the more I realize I've learned to just trust. When someone comes across my radar or something resonates with me, and it takes a lot, I think, to be present in that, but, and I'm still learning, I'm not perfect at it, but more and more every day, the people that I have gotten to connect with just by being open to that and realizing and exploring, like, okay, why did this come across for me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Why is this here? And just diving deeper into that has led to wonderful relationships, like meeting you. So and now here you're on my podcast, which is great. We've had a second conversation, and something tells me that we'll be, still seeing each other after this as well.
I hope so. That is my intention.
Yeah.
I actually have a couple thoughts on what you just said.
Cool.
So yeah, may I dive in?
Absolutely. Dive in.
So I feel like everything actually is relationships. And what is business without two human beings who have some kind of similar belief and some kind of need and service collaboration? Like, that's what business is. It's about human beings serving each other. And I think over the past 20 years, we've been diving into automation. But really what's happening is I believe we're transitioning back to humanity. So now what's one of my differentiators, one of the things that helps me transcend the competition is human connection, is the ability to go deep with people, empathize, understand them. That's why they buy these days, because everyone else is just trying to get a quick buck on them, and there's no trust there. And when there's no trust, there's no transaction. So that was the first thought, and I totally forget the second thought. So carry on.
Well, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And maybe as I'm kind of recapping what you just said, you'll think of your second thought. If not, I'm sure it'll come back at some point, or we'll have another juicy tidbit that we can share.
Yes.
That's not related to that. The whole idea that we're shifting, and I agree, we're traveling in this space, kind of teetering this fine line between, how much automation is too much automation, how much technology is too much technology. We're getting disconnected in certain ways where we were connected before, but yet we're connecting now in like new ways that we never had before. So I really do see it coming full circle too. Like Zoom, for example, we're on Zoom right now. I mean, if it wasn't for technology, we wouldn't be able to do this. A lot of meetings and interactions and situations are being made possible with technology now, that on the basis of connection, right? That haven't been possible in the past. So it's really interesting to me.
Well, I think there's two forms of technology. There's one that helps us scale some kind of message to a lot of people. And then there's technology that helps us connect on one-to-ones. For example, like hotels.com versus Airbnb. So hotels.com helps us get booked, but that's not even something that's important anymore. There's like 20 hotels.coms, right? But Airbnb helps us build connections with locals and have local experiences and meaningful experiences and connect with people. But it's technology that helps two people connect in a meaningful way. I even say like Tinder or Bumble, these dating apps, they're empowering people to connect one-on-one, right? So I think that the future of technology is how do we help people connect with each other in a deep way easier? And that's the future. That's what I'm seeing all over the place is Uber, for example. I mean, it's activating individual connections, one-on-one experiences. And I think this is why these things are thriving, because deep down we're wired for connection. I mean, it's inherently built into human beings. So the balance, I believe, is how do we use technology to easier and more quickly connect people in a deep and meaningful way?
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more. And there's only so long that we can go without those fundamental things that we need, like connection. So as a human race, there's only so much detraction from that we can have. There's only so much of an absence of connection we can have before we shift and realize that something has to come in to fill the void, right? To take the place. So, and that's where these wonderful innovations and, beautiful evolutions are happening with technology. And I think that's awesome. And that brings me to your whole business, right? With Purpose Pioneers. I know that's big for you. And I know that, business as a way to live your purpose is huge for you. And I'm sure we're going to touch on that more as we dive in here. Before we do that, though, would you share with us, I would really like to know more, and I'm sure everyone listening would too, about how did you get to this point? Like, what's your story? How did you get started with Purpose?
I always get that question, and especially in podcast interviews as well. They're like, how are you in doing that? And I think it's a great question because it's one of those things you believe everything happens for a reason. That word trust you used. I believe things, if we just trust and live in the present moment, things tend to unfold as they're supposed to. And I've been learning more and more about that. Less control, more listening to who I am and expressing and doing from that place. So my whole life has really been me seeking to understand the world and observe the world and then help everyone see it. When I was little, I said this on another interview I was on. When I was little, my mom thought I was slow because I didn't talk for a very long time. So she began to love me as my slower self. I'm like, thanks, Mom, right? But really what I realized is I believe, and this might just be a rationalization, but I believe I was observing the world. I wasn't ready to speak because I wanted to understand first. And my whole life has been me seeking, asking the why. Why? It's like my favorite word in the entire world. It's why I love Simon Sinek so much. But the question, I always wanted to see how things worked. And then I wanted everyone to experience that truth with me. So my whole life, I mean, in my fraternity, everyone called me Yoda because I was always like the wisdom, right? And
oh, wait, do that again.
Oh, it's pretty good. Yeah.
That is good. I love that. Yeah.
It's not my first rodeo.
Your face just transformed when you just did that. You literally turned into Yoda. Yeah.
Yes. He's hanging from my mirror in my car. I don't really care about Star Wars, but Yoda is my dude. He's a mentor of mine, I would even say. But I feel like it's been an essence of me naturally to go deep with people, uncover truth, see the patterns of the world, and then use them in a tangible way. So I think there's this balance of, there's very much this understanding of truth and spirituality and all that. And then there's this very rational, realistic, tangible application of things. So I think too often people are either too much in the clouds or too much on earth. So I like to understand the clouds, understand earth, and bring them together, if that makes sense. So that's what I've been doing my whole life, naturally in my leadership positions and in business. And finally, I just chose to quit my damn job and go do what I was supposed to do all along. And this is the outcome of that.
So what was that job?
Corporate, or not corporate, it was technical recruiting. So out of college, I was a recruiter, hiring engineers and designers and all of that. And then I got recruited, ironically, to another company for a raise and a promotion and all that. And I moved into sales. And I loved the business because I was helping people. I had to understand people's stories, like these candidates, and get them to a better job that was more aligned with who they were. But there was something about like people becoming products that it just didn't mesh with me. So I got to the point where I was actually drinking heavily on the weekends to forget and escape the fact that I was super unfulfilled in my daily job. And in the mornings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would sit in my shower and not want to get up, because if I got up, it means I'd have to dry off. And if I dried off, I'd have to put clothes on. If I put clothes on, it means I have to get in my car, and that means I'd have to go to work. So I found myself escaping my work, my purpose. I was escaping that. And I actually stopped drinking alcohol, immediately quit my job. I haven't gone back to the corporate world or alcohol since then. It's been about 3 years. And that's been a huge part of my journey.
And that's why I asked this question, right? Because when I have entrepreneurs on the show, we're all at this present moment place with our business and what we want, and we're all impact makers. So we want to have an impact. And it's easy to kind of dive into that present moment place of where we are now. For the listeners, though, and knowing that everybody is at different points on their journey, there may very well be someone listening right now, right this second, that's feeling the same way you were feeling.
Yeah.
When you didn't want to get out of the shower. And I think it's important to highlight that, the success that we see in people, or even with ourselves now, it wasn't necessarily always there, right? Like there's things that we had to go through, and there's transitions that needed to be made. So, and I applaud you. You said, you're like Yoda, and you've always been curious and into how people think and people work. Then to have that experience where you felt unfulfilled, like how long did it take you to kind of come to that realization? And what was it like for you when you realized you needed to make that shift into doing something that was more meaningful for you?
So it took about 1.5 years of going out after college to prove my worth to the world. That was essentially what I was doing. I was in the self-esteem level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And once I did that, and I doubled my salary, and I was successful yet unhappy, unfulfilled, it just had to happen. It had to happen. And when I did it, I felt relieved, refreshed, excited, alive, because I knew I was finally going to be me again. And I kept thinking back to that 10-year-old boy who went to space camp, who was just amped up on living his purpose and being an astronaut. I was like, I'm getting back to being that kid again. I'm getting back to me again. I'm no longer trying to be cool, trying to fit in, trying to succeed. I'm trying to be me. And I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to do. And that felt so right. It felt so aligned. I felt light. I felt energized, excited. And the cool part is, when I got back into alignment with my purpose, all of a sudden working became fun. I was always growing. Everyone I was meeting, I was loving them. I'm like, wow, this person's amazing. This person's amazing. I kept leveling up. And that's what purpose-driven life can do. When we live a life aligned with our purpose and our values, all of a sudden, all the opportunities coming our way are exactly what we want. All the people that are coming our way are exactly what we want. And now we keep growing and keep building a meaningful community, and then create an even bigger impact on the world. It's just a no-brainer. So it's been an absolute amazing journey over the last 3 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm glad you pointed it back to purpose. And, for those of you listening, I'm sure you can tell purpose is a really big thing for Thomas. And it might seem kind of elementary for me to be asking this question. Yet when you consider that purpose is really at the heart of everything that you do, and really I've learned it's at the heart of everything you believe, really. And you've created this business, Purpose Pioneers, co-created this business, Purpose Pioneers. What is purpose? How would you define that?
So we define purpose as how I transform myself, my peers, and or society in a way that gives me meaning and fulfillment. So that's my purpose. And I say myself, my peers, and or society, because I believe I don't have to transform the entire planet for my purpose to be worthy. Sometimes it can just be me getting back to who I am. Maybe that's my purpose. And through that, I might inspire some other people. Maybe it's just I'm helping the people around me. Maybe it's just I'm helping my son or dad or wife or friend. Purpose doesn't have to be insanely ridiculous. So it's just a way that people can find meaning and fulfillment in their lives. And when we have direction, we can find those two things.
Do me a favor, repeat the definition as you said it initially so that people can really hear it and really let it sink in for them. Okay.
How I transform. So that word transform is huge. It means growth. It means positive direction. How I transform myself, my peers, and or society in a way that gives me meaning and fulfillment in my life.
Yeah, just sit with that a minute. There's so much we could dissect. I mean, the transformation.
It's so loaded, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's loaded. It definitely is. Definitely loaded. So really cool. And I know everyone listening is going to have a different take on that and going to have different questions about that. The transformation piece, I think, is really important.
It's everything.
It is because it's all about an evolution, right? And it's all about having an impact, and it's all for yourself so that you can be fulfilled. But inherently in your definition of purpose requires transformation of self and or others, right? The others is inherent in that definition as well.
Yes, I believe it's a beautiful reciprocal transformation. I really believe it's about serving others and then letting them serve us. And oftentimes when we serve others, it's inevitable that they serve us. And that's this beautiful upward spiral where we keep experiencing more meaning and fulfillment and joy in our lives. And business can be that.
Yeah. I think oftentimes we don't look at transformation. We don't think of the word maybe transformation, because I'm thinking of different synonyms that we could put in there, or similar words, right?
Impact is one.
Yeah, that's the first one. That's my word. That's something that my brain would naturally put in there. For example, as a parent, I know there's a lot of, my mom comes to my mind, and she studied education. She got her teaching degree, and she was going to go into high school and teach high school French and Russian. And, she grew up in a small farm town, was the first of her family to go to college, straight A student, of course, very academic, very, very, very smart, very bright. She ended up, though, she never used her degree because her primary purpose that she felt called for was to be a stay-at-home mom. Thank God she did, because my father was a hardcore entrepreneur and he worked 80 hours a week, and we really never saw him growing up. So if it wasn't for my mother being there and living her purpose, we wouldn't, if she wasn't there to impact us then, my brother and I, I'm not really sure how things would have turned out. So I'm really grateful that she was there. That's totally different from like a Simon Sinek purpose, who feels called to, have this major, huge impact on a ton of people, or other, there's lots of other names we could insert there. Right. But you mentioned Simon, and I love him too. So.
Oh, he's the man. Yeah. The whole point is that the comparison game isn't useful for anyone. And the amount of something isn't useful, I don't think either. So the idea is we can transform just ourselves, and that's enough. Or maybe even our pet or the world. And it's still purpose. It's still worthy. It still matters. And it still gives us meaning and fulfillment in our lives. And I think too often people are attempting to be so motivational. So they talk about world change and global galactic change, right? And I think that takes away from the power of the smallest action, right? The simplest action is profound. And oftentimes those moments are even more profound than others. Like how I treat the person, the cashier at Chipotle, says a lot about me and impacts the world, sometimes even more than that epic speech I gave at some event in San Francisco.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I like that definition. I really do. And what I pull out of that is that really fits with the Thrivers mission. And part of the reason why we resonate so strongly with one another is that it's really about what that means to what that meaning and fulfillment means to you. Yes. It's not about what it means to anybody else. Everybody else is doing their thing. They're living their life. They're creating their story. They're on their journey, their path, and they have nothing to do with you. The focus needs to go back to what it is that we want, what fulfills us, with what gives us meaning, and who are those people that we desire to impact in generating that meaning and fulfillment for ourselves, whether that's like you said, the person next door, or whether it's really trying to reach a massive audience, or just pour into our children, whatever that means.
And here's why that matters. Here's why it's so important. I know this is what we talked about yesterday as well, is it's about us. It's about me and my purpose. And my purpose is inherently about serving others, right? But it's important because if I have a purpose that I didn't choose, it's tough to be sustainable, to sustainably do that. It's tough to find that motivation every morning to keep getting up and doing it over and over again. But when it's authentically true for me and it gives me meaning and fulfillment in my life the way I want it, then it's undying. Then the energy grows. Then the movement builds because it's a direct expression of who I am. And I think if everyone can do that, then there's a lot more energy in the world. People are getting a lot more done, helping a lot more people, and everyone's life improves. So I think it's not selfish. And I don't even use that word. I think it serves both parties more effectively.
Authenticity. I firmly believe authenticity always does. Always.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Always. And when it's coming from a serving place and an honoring place.
We say a loving intention. So
yes, exactly.
Be authentic. We say be honest with a loving intention.
Yes. Now that's interesting about purpose, because to me, I automatically go to purpose as it's not purpose unless it's authentic. So I would use a different word. I wouldn't use purpose to describe something that someone else would have given to me, your purpose. And I see where you're going with that though, your purpose in a position. If you're in a position, if you're in a job, if you're, we could just go work with this, right? So if your career or what you need to do on a day-to-day basis, like your old tech recruiting position, they gave you your purpose. You didn't get to choose your purpose in that. Just interesting that
Yeah, they tried.
Well, and I would say it's not really your true purpose. It's something else. I'm not sure what we would call that.
It's the purpose of the position.
Right.
They defined the purpose of that position, but I have my own purpose. So what I did is I brought my own purpose to life within the boundaries of the purpose of the position, and it wasn't sustainable for me.
Right. It only went so far. Exactly. Because you weren't authentically aligned as well as you needed to be with the purpose that the position offered. I think that's really important as a takeaway for people. So, if you need to rewind, if you're in something and if you're doing something for work that you don't feel entirely aligned with, and you have this sense that there could be something better, something more fulfilling, rewind and re-listen to that, and ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now, the purpose of that, is that aligned to my core purpose, my true purpose? And maybe there's things that you can do to shift that so that it is more in line and you're more fulfilled. Or maybe there's another shift that that needs to happen, right? Thomas, you wouldn't recommend somebody stay there, right?
No, I would say that feelings may come up of, well, it's wrong for me to stand up for what I want, for me to do what I want. I need to just do what's required of me. I need to work hard. I need to do all those things to show that I'm a part of society and I'm successful on their terms. But the fact is, like, do whatever you want. Do whatever is right for you. Like, there are enough people who can fill that job. And now we have the internet, like, you can really do whatever the heck you want. So I think I want to release people, and I've released myself in the past. I released myself from feeling like I need to do things a certain way because that's how they've always been done. Feeling like I need to do things a certain way because that's what I'm supposed to do, or because that's what my parents want me to do, or that's what I think I should do based on what. So I always say, just what's true for me and how can I express that in a way that's sustainable? And that's what business is, right? It allows me to serve others and what's true for me in a way where I can make money so I can keep doing it. So as long as what I'm doing is sustainable, then keep doing it, right? I think it can get tough when I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go create a charity and then I'm going to end up running out of money, and that's not sustainable. So serving purpose in that way, I think, is useful if there's another stream of income. But with purpose-driven business, now we can fully align what we do to find meaning and fulfillment in our life with what we do to make money. And that creates a sustainable vehicle for us to find that meaning and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when we consider how much time we spend working, there are other ways to get fulfillment. I'm not saying it can't happen. But really, if you want to find the direct route there, aligning what you do for work with what you're passionate about and what you feel your purpose is, and making strides so that you can feel fulfilled in your work is a huge step in the right direction. We spend so much time with work, and particularly entrepreneurs as business owners, we get to decide. We're creating our businesses. There's nobody telling us what to do or not to do. I mean, minus our customers, of course we have to be in alignment with serving people, right? So in essence, we answer to them because the impact that we're desiring to make is only an impact when they say it's making an impact. But we get to choose. If there's something that you don't like in your business, change it, right?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that the beauty of the world we live in is we can do whatever we want to make money. So there is no more compromise. There is no more excuse. There is no, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. I know Gary Vaynerchuck, he's interesting figure in this world. He always talks about, He's like, you can talk about Smurfs on YouTube 3 times a week and you'll get 100,000 followers and make, $1 million a year. Like, we can now do anything we want. We live in the era of the internet, which is a hyper connected global marketplace where we have access to billions of people and we can create businesses and add value to them with no upfront capital and transact money for free, right? Like, well, basically for free. It's literally miraculous. So now what's cool is we can fully live out our purpose in a way that makes us money with no compromise. And like, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. What a beautiful miracle we're in. And I think what the problem is not enough people realize what amazing environment we live in. Think about the internet. They don't know what gender I am. People don't have to know what religion I am, what sexuality I am, what race I am. It doesn't matter anymore. It's a democratized place for people to be empowered and find freedom. And that's why I love capitalism so much. It's a vehicle for everyone to do what they want to do, be who they want to be, and serve the world doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about, boy, we could really go deep with this. One of the things that I think with that is, and when, like, imagine a world where everyone is authentically living their purpose. Everyone, from the janitor or the housekeeper or the person that's walking the kids across the street to the lady in the lunchroom, the bus driver. I don't know why I went school on that. I guess I just saw a school bus go by. But from that all the way up to the Gary Vaynerchucks and the Simon Sinek's of the world and everyone in between, right? The gas station operator owner and the contractor and the landscaper. If every single person on this planet was focused on living their true purpose, what a beautiful world we would have.
A lot less crime and a lot more productivity.
Yeah.
I think that's it. So a lot less crime, because I think a lot of issues come up when people are interacting with others from a place of emptiness and a place of hurt. But we heal through living our purpose, and we become whole and overflowing when we serve others in the way we want to, and create the impact we want to, and serve ourselves the way we want to. So if everyone was doing that and focusing on that, then we'd be a lot less empty. We'd be a lot more fulfilled. There'd be a lot less crime. There'd be a lot more GDP. Like everyone would be a lot more well off. I think too often we get caught in the emptiness, which makes us want to drink, dive into Netflix and consume and focus on everything else and focus on others instead of filling ourselves up and serving from a place of overflow. Instead, we start picking at other people because we're empty. So purpose is that vehicle. It's beautiful. And to go back, like business, you're talking about what we do for work. And you're like, we spend so much time doing work. Why don't we love it? Think about it. What is more incredible than a business? And I'll explain. What is more amazing than a business? A business is a vehicle for the more I help someone else, the more I can do whatever I want to do. Like that is incredible. A business is a community of people who share their gifts with the world, and they work with people they care about in a common direction to create some kind of positive impact on others. What is more profound? Like quit all your other communities and organizations you're a part of and double down on like your business, right? And that's what I did. I was like, I'm clearing out everything else because I know purpose pioneers and the work we do with purpose-driven coaches. This is profound. This is where I'm going to find my wholeness, my fulfillment. This is where I'm going to create my impact. This is how I'm going to make the world better. This is how I'm going to make money so I can do whatever the heck I want. This matters more than anything in the world. This is it. So I think what I want people to see, or what would be amazing, is just to see what I see. And I see my business as my vehicle for everything I ever needed.
Absolutely. And it can be. And we talked about this yesterday too, that we both see entrepreneurship on the rise, whether it's becoming a freelancer, contract sales work, to opening up brick and mortars, digital CEOs, online course creators, you name it. I really believe that we're shifting to that. We're coming out of this industrial age and we're moving into a space and a time in our evolution where people are freer to, and there's vehicles like technology to be able to help people do that. Like you said, the internet is there for people to dive into their own business and do their own thing and follow theher passion and live their purpose on a day-to-day basis. And that is so exciting. And really, you just perfectly kind of like described a thriver, like what a thriver is. Like, yes, they're in business, and they're in business to have a positive impact on the lives of other people in their business and with who they touch in their business. And while they're creating the life that they desire to live, whatever that is, that freedom, because I believe we all deserve to have, and I know you believe this too, we all deserve to have the time, all the money, and all the freedom we need to live the life we truly desire. We deserve that. There's some inner work we need to do. We deserve that.
Yeah, I think we all have the ability to create that for ourselves. And if we create that for ourselves, we'll experience more peace and tranquility and fulfillment in our lives. I agree with that. I think it's within each person, which is brilliant. That's really cool that everyone can do that. Really quick, I want to touch on what you were saying about going from industrial to this hyper-connected information age. I think we're at a precipice moment, a very crucible moment in our societal development. And you're right, we went from this industrial age where people didn't really have a lot of options. It was very limited, like, this is what you can do, find meaning in it. And there weren't many options, right? And then we went to the internet era, the information era, and there were almost too many options. I could do anything and make money anyway. And I could go on Upwork and be a marketing consultant. I could work here, I could work there, I could work remote, I could be anywhere. And now I feel like it's really tough for people because they're having to derive their direction, their purpose, where they find meaning from inside. Before, it was handed to them in the structure that was created around them. And now we have all the options we thought we ever wanted. We're like, if only we just could do whatever we wanted, life would be good. But now we're in a world where people can do whatever they want, and they're even more empty than ever, right? They're even more doing the things they didn't want to do more than ever. Yeah. And that's why we're at a moment right now is, do we continue down the hole, or do we go inside and find out what's true for us and create our own constraint, create our own path, create our own vehicle for meaning and fulfillment, which is, it's harder to do, but it's much more powerful, much more fulfilling.
Yeah. And because we haven't been taught that. Like when have we been taught to go inside? Nobody ever, I mean, you get asked when you're a little kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? But it's not like that. They stop asking that question.
It stops there. Yeah. Right. It stops there.
Pretty much it stops there. And half the people that ask it, do they really want to know the true answer? Like, are they really looking for the true answer, the true purpose? Like, what are you on this planet to do? Or, because I know parents and teachers or whatever, older people ask that of a younger person, and it's more or less like, what are you going to do to make money? Is really what they're asking. Like, when are you going to grow up and start making some money? I think it's, boy, I got myself off on a tangent there.
Go,
but
please.
It's really true. And I think the most beautiful thing about it is that we get to be in this place, right? I love the fact that we're changing there. And I love the fact that I can be a part of it. And I know that you are too. It's interesting how this has come up over multiple guest appearances that I've had. Many people on the show are resonating with the same exact thing, that yes. And that's what we're here to do, is to shift that, to get people to wake up and realize that the constraint happens by you deciding and you figuring out what it is that you want. And when you do, and you find that clarity, clarity comes, and you have the constraint that you need, because all of a sudden these gazillion options that you think you have out there, 99% of them are not truly right for you.
Right.
And you're left with a very manageable handful of choices that resonate well with you when you can go inside. But we have to teach people how to do that, because we haven't gotten it, right?
Well, it reminds me of, so I went vegan a couple years ago, and it made life more exciting, because instead of having Uber Eats, I could order from 1,000 different restaurants. I would look and find that special restaurant that gave me just what I wanted. And it made it exciting. It made it meaningful. It made it a treat every time. Right. So I think it's the same thing. Is before, all we could eat was our steak and potatoes every night, back in the day. And now we have unlimited options, and it's like, this sucks. It's not meaningful. I don't care. But if we can create a constraint that serves us and what's true for us, then I can begin to experience that meaning and fulfillment I'm looking for. Then I can begin to become abundant within that constraint. I think about it too, like a toy room. Like before, there were like one toy I could play with. There's only one toy. But then I'm like, man, if only I could go to the toy store and play with all the toys. And then all of a sudden, now we live in the toy store. And I'm like, I don't even know what toy to play with. It's overwhelming. It's not meaningful. I have too many options. Now it's deciding what toy is perfect for me. That's it. So helping people get that discernment that comes from an authentic place inside of them, so they can choose the path that is the most meaningful. And when we do that, we begin to create the world and the reality that's most meaningful. begin to create the business that's most meaningful, create the community that's most meaningful. So it all derives from that beautiful core truth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love
Can
it.
I get an
Great.
amen?
Yes. Amen. Amen for sure. Very cool. Well, there's one more question. Well, actually, there's two more questions.
Okay.
Maybe three. I think maybe
Let's
three.
go.
Let's go. All right. Well, you've talked a lot about purpose. People can see that you're really, and your passion for that is clearly evident. And I applaud you for that, for living, for living full out and sharing. And I love that. I've loved that about you from the first time we even spoke. So kudos on that. What does being successful and fully thriving, what does that mean for you? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So I've been listening to Eckhart Tolle recently. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he has helped me through his teachings. He's helped me understand that more clearly, talk about clarity. Mm-hmm. And I believe that a big piece of success for me is when I'm in a state of being that is free from worry of the future and regret of the past. And in that moment, I am feeling unconditional love for myself and everything around me. And I am in a pure state of gratitude. The fact that people are in my sight, that trees are blowing in the wind around me, that I am breathing and healthy. So if I think about what success really is, it's living in that state sustainably. If I want to get super deep about it, which is a given, obviously. And I think in terms of like the definition of success for my business, it's when I'm in a state of balance between impact and profit. And I believe if we can get to that state of impact and profit, then we can experience two of the I'm going to go from my language because I want to keep this
go ahead.
Ownership of this. When I can get to that state, that balance of purpose and profit, right? Impact and income, then I can now experience the two things that I believe are the two feelings every human being seeks. And that's freedom and fulfillment. Because when I'm making money, I'm free to do what I want. But that's not enough because then I can be empty and that's not sustainable, right? I'll crash and burn. But if I'm just doing things that are fulfilling but not helping me create profit, then I'm fulfilled, but I'm not sustainable. I'm not free. So that's not sustainable either. So if I can get to that balance of freedom and fulfillment, just experiencing liberty, and I can divinely create whatever I want to create, and it's coming from a place of wholesome truth and fulfillment, that's the name of the game. So I do everything in my business to create that balance for myself and for the coaches we work with.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It really is a beautiful thing. And it's funny you said, I want to put this in my words. There's two sets of words that I use to pretty much describe exactly the same thing. Two of them are exactly the same as yours, which is impact and income. So it's all about, when we can scale and leverage our impact and we can increase our impact, then naturally we increase our income. Then we use our income to further increase our impact. And it's just a circle. It's a cycle, because then you can take the income that you've earned in your business to impact more people. The bigger impact you have, the more income you make, and it just goes in the circle. But the way to start that, and I think a lot of people focus on the income piece instead, but the way to get it all started is with the impact, because you first have to consider the impact that you're making on people and trust that the income will come from that. Right?
Yeah, I think that's powerful. I would fully agree. That's why we say like the purpose first mindset is what we teach. So put purpose first and you'll begin to receive everything you need. But I think once I begin to harness my purpose and people begin to be transformed by me, the key then is to create boundaries around those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and monetary boundaries included. So for too long in my life, I would serve others and not put a price on it. But what I realized is it actually was harming them, because if I can't put a price around that, then I can't keep helping them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep empowering them. So for me, I put prices in place so I can sustain my service to those people I care about most.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. If people are feeling bad about charging money, it's actually
don't do
the
that.
money is what is empowering me to keep serving the people I want to serve. And to add to your point, and what I realized, we always say like revenue allows me to sustain my impact, and then profit allows me to scale it. Because when I create profit, then I can reinvest back in the mission, and I can grow the amount of people I serve, which means I'm transforming more human beings, which means I'm creating more impact. So I agree with you completely. And I love that we have unique lingo. And
Yeah. The other two words that I like to use are prosper and profit. So,
prosper.
you want to prosper in your life, in your business. You want the people that work for you to prosper in their lives. So it's all about balancing prosperity and profit. Because when you're in business, it's all about profit. Because again, you don't, if you don't generate revenue, you don't have a business. You have, a hobby or maybe something that you like to do, but it's not a business.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, I would also say to that, Candice, is if you don't have profit, you're right. You don't have a sustainable way to serve others. You don't have a business. But I think if you're only about profit, in the end, it's not sustainable anyways, because competition is going to come in and actually serve the customer. And then that business that's all about profit will eventually go out of business. Right?
That's why, yes. And that's why you have to focus on the prosper part of it too, because you have to prosper your customers.
Exactly.
You have to, yes. So it's,
that creates sustainability and scalability. So a business can make it for a little bit and, really just treat people like crap and they'll make some money in the beginning. But I have learned to trust that they eventually will either learn their lesson or crumble, and that the people who balance purpose and profit, or prosper and profit, all that, they'll win in the long run. They'll be sustainable.
Absolutely. Wow. Awesome stuff. One more question.
Hit me. Let's go.
All right. And you might have to think about this, and I don't know, it might just roll off your tongue too. So if you were, because you are Yoda, you mentioned that, right?
I'm not Yoda. Yoda's Yoda.
If there was just one thing, so if you were given the opportunity to only say one thing, say you have this next thought, and then you're not allowed to speak anything else for the rest of your life. If you could only say one thing to help people be more successful, and that one thing, to have a positive impact on someone's life, what would it be?
All right, give me some time here. One thing. One thing. I got last time, the last podcast I was on, he gave me 3 things, but I respect that.
So what's the top one? Really? I mean, you're going to get to say more. It's just the
I respect and honor your boundary. I love that. You're creating a constraint that's making what I'm feeling more meaningful to me. So I respect that. Okay. I have it.
Lay it on me.
Okay. I'm also now constraining the amount of words I'm going to use just inherently here. Okay. Unconditional love is the only path forward. That's it. And what I mean by that is if we have disagreements, whether it's political or anything, any kind of disagreement, if I judge and close my heart, then that disagreement will never turn into an aligned agreement. And if I close down my heart and I have negative energy for the other side, then there'll never be a bridge of connection. And if there's never a bridge of connection, we can never move forward together. And if we ever want to sustain humanity, then unconditional love must be the foundation for every connection, every conversation, everything we do, even when we lose in the short term. And the more reciprocal we can make it, the better it will be. But I've seen the healing unconditional love can do. I've entered into conversations with seemingly disagreeing people, and I know what it's like to close my heart and judge and get defensive and get crazy. You know what it does? It makes the other person get the same way. It makes them close their heart to me. It makes them they don't even care what I'm saying. They're just thinking about their next argument against me. But when I can open my heart and unconditionally love, no matter what the person is, who they are, what it is, what's going on, then I open up an opportunity, a possibility for connection and an opportunity for us to move forward. So I really believe in that. I think it's the end game. It's the game. Love is the game. It's the answer. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way. Like, I mean that in a very tangible, real way. Like, apply it and see what happens. And it heals, it forgives, it connects, it brings together, it's everything. So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Wow. I love that. I love that you've boiled it all down to love. And that's true.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
all you need is love. The Beatles had it right.
I know. I feel like
all you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, it's true. And it's just very real. Like, it's very real. It's very tangible. It's the answer. So don't think about it in a very pie in the sky way. Like, think about how I always think about how I can apply it in every conversation, every disagreement, every time I'm feeling negative towards someone else. I always immediately look at them from that lens, and everything changes. And I know Wayne Dyer said something really cool. He said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is the most true statement.
Absolutely. And when we see things through the eyes of love, it's interesting. There's a whole NLP exercise that I'll do with people, particularly people who, struggle with that, with negative self-talk, and, they limit themselves, or they have, lower self-esteem. They're holding themselves back. They have some blocks. It's called Through the Eyes of Love, where you see yourself through, there's more to it, but basically you see yourself through the eyes of someone who loves you unconditionally. And you get to experience what they would be saying to you, or how they would feel about you saying those things to yourself, coming from that place of unconditional love. When we can get to a place where we can all do that with one another, the world would just be a beautiful utopian place. So I'm glad that you're one of these humans on the planet that are walking around with that intention. And I also try all the time, non-judgment, shut up that ego brain, and let the lizard sleep, and lizard brain that is, and focus on love and connecting with people from the place of the core truth.
So I want to add to Candice, and I think you're spot on, and I love that you're practicing that with the people you work with. You are raising the consciousness of the world by doing that. So thank you. I want to say too that love doesn't mean no boundaries. So love doesn't mean if someone's abusing me, I just love them and let them keep doing it. Love doesn't mean no nations and no borders and no rules. It means we do those things so we can keep a beautiful society in order, but we always stay open, and we always have that love for the other and love for ourselves. So it's unconditional love and boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if we didn't have those boundaries, we wouldn't be showing love for ourselves.
Boom.
Yes.
That was huge. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we have given the listeners so much to think about. When we said yesterday, this could go pretty deep. Well, it did.
I'm really glad.
I know.
Thank you so much for giving me this platform, and I'm really thankful for this conversation. Like, I am changed by it. So
Me too. And I really sincerely hope that, and I know that it will, someone, probably multiple people, I'm sure, listening to this and considering that this is now going to be out there for all the world to see from now until whenever they, I don't know, take iTunes down or get rid of podcasts. It will have a positive impact, and that's always my goal. And thank you for coming on with me and having such a wonderful conversation. Before we leave, want to make sure that you share with people. So if they want to learn more about you, about Purpose Pioneers, how would they do that?
They would, I'm not sure if this is still recording. I don't know if it is. Oh, it is? Okay, cool. It's not showing up. So they would go to purposepioneers.com or add me on Facebook. I mean, that's my number one, is add me on Facebook and message me. Like, that is where I communicate. That is where I connect. That is where the magic happens with Purpose Pioneers. And then we have a paid Facebook group as well called the Purpose to Profit Pioneers. And that's where we do in-depth training. And we have a lot of high-level purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are really supporting each other and growing every single day. So it's those things. So add me on Facebook, purposepioneers.com, and the Purpose to Profit Pioneers Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you. And all that'll be in the show notes. So be sure to check that out. Thank you, Thomas. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And until we meet again.
Yes.
Bye.
Soon.
Yes. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Remember, always, do you. Tune in to your personal genius, live in your strengths, and find your best way. Because you deserve to be successful and you deserve to fully thrive. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. I'm excited to report that the Thriver Signature Program is launching soon. It's all about diving into your personal genius and figuring out what it is that makes you special, what it is that makes you tick. How are you wired? What are your preferences? So that we can then begin to build the business and life of our dreams by tuning in to our strengths and leveraging our own unique personal genius for better success, and so we can more fully thrive and have a bigger impact on the lives of other people. I invite you to go to program.thrivers.com, that's Thrivers with a Z, and sign up. Get on the early bird wait list, and you'll be notified as soon as everything becomes available. I look forward to seeing you there.